accumulated over the course of his 13-year career. Eric Weddle, good player. Congrats. Also in the news, really interesting to see over the course of the next few weeks is the collective bargaining agreement. And rumor has it that there's a rough deadline of March 18th to come to agreement and accept a deal. And pretty much there, it's going to be a 10-year collective bargaining agreement. And their main proposal is now a 17-game season. And most are kind of iffy about, the players are iffy about having that extra game. And the players and the player association are really resisting the concept of having that extra game in there. They don't want it. I don't think any player has actually spoken out saying that they want to have an extra game. And basically the whole process of how this collective bargaining agreement will get signed is the NFLPA's approval process has to go through the executive committee recommending the proposal to the board of the player reps, and then 2/3 of the board has to approve the deal, and then 50% and one person of the NFL members of the association of the NFL union have to accept the contract. I think it's going to be pretty hard to get done. If the owners and the league is pushing for 17 games, they're going to have to give something up. Rumor has it they just want the elimination entirely of the marijuana policy. I don't know how this is going to go. If none of the players support the idea of having an extra game, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of that. So that'll be interesting to see, and that's the collective bargaining agreement of the NFL in a league that is going to be starting up on February 8th, this Saturday, is the XFL. And they have some absolutely, I think it's going to be wild. I've not yet chosen a team to be a fan of. However, I'm going to walk through some of the former NFL players and, star studs coming out of the draft that just never made it in the NFL are going to play in the XFL. And I think that might influence my decision to ultimately become a DC Defenders fan because of PFT commenter. And just some of the rule changes that the XFL has that are different than the NFL. There's some kickoff changes. The kicker kicks from the 30-yard line and must kick the ball in the air and in play between the opponent's 20-yard line and the end zone. So interesting, no squib kicks there. Coverage team lines up. That's a nice siren in the background. The coverage team lines up on the return side, 35-yard line, and the return team lines up on the 30-yard line. Each team must have exactly 3 players outside the hash marks on both sides of the... So blah, blah, blah. In short, the players can only move when the ball is touched by the returner or 3 seconds after the ball touches the ground when the official waves his hand down. So this is just an incentive, and it's just going to lead to explosive plays. And I don't know if anyone's noticed this lately. Punters have become, and kickers have become extremely good at placing the ball wherever they want. So they're, in the NFL, they're on a kickoff, they're angling it, towards, I guess what people would say, the coffin corner. Obviously, you can't kick it out of bounds, but near that pylon, you get the sideline as a helper, and you can kick it high into the air and have your coverage team run down to guard the kick, or you just kick it through the back of the end zone. And I feel like most of the balls that are kicked on kickoffs are just, the returner waves it off, and they'll just take the ball at the 25. And now with the punts are kicked so well, and the gunners are becoming so specialized. More teams are adopting the philosophy that the Patriots do of dedicating certain players and certain roster spots just for special teamers, not backup running backs or backup defensive backs anymore. So returns have pretty much been eliminated for punt returns. It's not a huge play as it was a couple years ago, and I feel like there are way more returns to the house. So the fact that the kicking team can't run down until 3 seconds after the ball touches the ground or until the returner touches the ball, that's going to create some great open lanes. So that's one of the rule changes from the kickoff. Now for the point after touchdown. So after a touchdown, the team has the option of running a play from the 2, the 5, or the 10-yard line, or with 1, 2, and 3 points respectively. The team must run an offensive play and no kicking plays are allowed. So this is not for the brand type play right here. So basically, they have to go for what the NFL standards is. Go for 2, right? You have to send your offensive unit out on the field and go for 1, 2, or 3. Now, if you're down 9 points now, you're not out of the game. You score the touchdown, you convert the 3 from the 10-yard line. There's a lot of points to just score. It's like a 4th and goal play from the 10. That's not entirely, it's tough to convert, but there's going to be a handful. There's going to be a lot. I would say a handful of 3-point plays converted each week. So, I mean, I like this change. NFL, even with the pushback of the extra point, they went from 99% to around 95% of extra points kicked that are good. Now, instead of an automatic play, you have to send your offensive unit out on the field. I like that. Same, another punting rule, similar to the kicking rule, is, the punting team can't move past the line of scrimmage until the ball is kicked. Gunners must line up at the line of scrimmage, and they can't move laterally once the ball is snapped until it is kicked. Or they're only allowed to move laterally, Again, similar rule, can't move past the line of scrimmage. If the ball goes out of bounds inside the 35-yard line, it is called a quote-unquote major touchback, and the ball goes to the 35-yard line. Basically, all these fair catches are permitted, though they say they're disincentivized because of the rules that allow for the major touchback, and the return lanes are going to be wide open. So it looks like fair catching it would just not be a good idea. Here's one. Peel your ears back for this. The double forward pass. If a team completes a forward pass behind the line of scrimmage, that team may throw a second forward pass as long as the ball has at no time crossed the line of scrimmage. Once the ball is past the line of scrimmage, no forward passes are permitted. Okay. So the reason they did this is when we see a double pass, such as the one that, just off the top of my head, that the Patriots have done in the past, whether it's in the Baltimore playoff game or even more recently throwing what looks to be a bubble screen behind the line of scrimmage to Edelman or to someone, and then they sling it across the field or throw it downfield, whatever it is. But those plays are only allowed because of the ball initially thrown, let's say by Brady to Edelman, is technically a lateral because it is behind him. So lateral is when the ball is delivered behind from where you are in aspect to the field. So even if, let's say, in the NFL rules, the line of scrimmage is at your own 30, right? And Brady drops back to his on like a 3-step drop or whatever to his own 25. He can only a lateral will then have to be behind his 25. A lateral is not behind just the 30. Now the XFL will allow for a double pass as long as it's behind the 30-yard line of scrimmage. In the NFL, they only do it if it's a lateral. So the NFL's terminology of the double pass, really, it's not a double pass. It's a lateral, then a pass, because you're only allowed one forward pass per offensive down. So now you take the snap from the 30, you could drop back to however far you want, and you can complete a pass. It just has to be before the 30, and then you can throw it again. So you could throw things like screens all day long that look like they're in front of you, so a forward pass, and then they could throw it again. So, again, these rules are just made so you can have more open lanes to run with it, right? So you throw a screen, and the safety can't come up to help make a tackle anymore because he has to stay back because some guy might leak out, and you throw the ball again and get a huge gain. So, I mean, this is just mainly, I think, an exciting rule. Probably one of my favorites. Overtime rule. Overtime has 5 rounds, staged in alternating single play possessions, as is like in the NHL shootouts or penalty kicks. A round consists of 1 offensive play per team. This seems like Pat McAfee rule right here. Each possession starts at the opponent's 5-yard line, and the offensive team has 1 play to score. The team with more points after 5 rounds is the winner. So Pat McAfee suggested a full quarter of overtime, and if there's no winner after that, then you go to basically what the XFL just proposed. And if there's no winner after that, then you go to a kickoff. Like, as in, you get the snapper, holder, and place kicker, and you just alternate, and the place kicker can decide the game. So this is a middle step right here. I like it. So it's like a shootout, and it sounds like a lot of fun. You get your offensive unit on one side, you got your defensive unit on the other. And basically, what's going to be so exciting is after this overtime play, like when you win, like you're going to have your team like sprinting down the field, like the defense runs over to the offense like after they score, or the offense runs over to the defense after they make a stop. So that seems like a lot of fun. I mean, a turnover, they say a turnover on these plays are dead, so you can't return it to the house. If the defensive team commits a penalty, the offensive team will be allowed to reattempt from the 1-yard line. And how about this? Any penalty after that first penalty by the defensive team will result in a score awarded to the offensive team. If the offensive team commits a pre-snap penalty, the ball will be moved back. If the offensive team commits a post-snap penalty, the play will end, no score. Minimum of 20 seconds between plays, with the ball spotting official working with the TV and official. So it's going to go quick. It looks like it's going to go quick. That's going to be awesome. And then one of the last changes, or the timing changes, there's a 25-second play clock. So instead of the 40-second or the 40-second play clock, which is, really less than that because it takes time to spot the ball. So that's going to be very, very quick. The game's going to move fast. So there's something now called the comeback period. It occurs after the 2-minute warning in each half. So you have to be south of 2 minutes. On plays that end in the field of play, the game clock will be stopped until the ball has been spotted and 5 seconds have run off the play clock. On incomplete passes and out-of-bounds plays, the game clock will stop completely until the ball is snapped. So they're just allowing more ability to come back. And you can't run out the clock at the end of the game. So let's say the opponent has no timeouts, but there's a minute left. 5-second runoff on the play, so 20 seconds can be run off on a play. Whereas basically, if you're in the NFL and you're inside 2 minutes and you have no timeouts, you can ice it. So there's a big difference. Up-tempo game clock outside of the last 2 minutes of each half. When the play ends out of bounds or on an incompletion, the game clock will be stopped until the ball is spotted. Basically, aside from incompletions and out-of-bounds plays, game clock rules outside the last 2 minutes of each half are the same as the NFL. Basically, they want to play each game in under 3 hours, is the rationale there. Timeouts, each team will have 2 1-minute timeouts per half, changed from 3. Replay rules. Here we go, because this has always been a hot topic. XFL will have no coaches challenge, and all plays will be subject to review from the replay official, who will be stationed in a booth above the field. So basically, the sky judge that Florio and McAfee have all been screaming and shouting for. So that could be good. And they list these next rules as common sense rules. 1 foot in bounds. To catch a ball means that a player, 1, has to secure control of a live ball in flight before the ball touches the ground. 2, touches the ground in bounds with any part of his body. And then 3, maintains control of the ball long enough to be enabled him to perform an act common in the game. So either long enough to pitch the ball or hand the ball or advance it or avoid or ward off an opponent. Okay, that makes it simpler. They're going to have a dedicated ball spotting referee. They're going to have a coach to player communication with similar to what they have in the NFL. Coach can talk to the quarterback. And then, that's pretty much it. shorter halftime, 10-minute break. Then they're